Here's exactly what I would do if I was still active duty in the Marine Corps and I want to be able to transition into entrepreneurship or wealth building in real estate. First and foremost, I'm going to break this down into 5 steps. These 5 steps are clear, actionable, tangible, and these are fucking super easy for my creators to want to be able to follow. Number 1, you got to identify what you want to do. If it's going to be real estate, you got to stick with real estate. Can't be doing real estate, then maybe focusing on side insurance and you want to do a power washing company. Focus on one fucking thing. That one freaking thing is going to be real estate. Now, if I was you, I would do exactly what I did, and I would do real estate novations. That's creative finance. Why? Because I don't have any money. And I wanted to be able to focus on an ethical way to be able to start flipping paper or houses done where I can start utilizing my people skills as well as by partnering up with other people who are bringing in these opportunities, aka wholesalers. So if you're working with wholesalers and they have properties that are dead wholesale deals where the seller wants a little bit too much, you should be the specialist as a novator. I would reach out to all these wholesalers and I would say, hey, you know, all these deals where the seller wants $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more, if you give them to me and I'm able to convert them with creative finance, I'll give you $2,500 or $1,000 or whatever you want to be able to do. Why? Because novations are the way. Creative finance is the way in 2026. This is exactly what I've been saying since basically 2019. Every single year, novations are getting bigger and bigger. Let's identify what a novation is. A novation is you working directly with the seller where instead of trying to buy the property cash at a lower amount, you say, hey, seller, I would love to be able to work with you and collaborate by renovating your home to a standard that's suitable for the market, and any appreciation I create through the renovation I bring, we can split the equity together. So that way you're working the seller into the optimism of the property selling for more. Now, if you don't have any money, what do? You go borrow money. There's a lot you can do with $5,000 to $10,000 on every property to be able to 3x that type of return. So in doing so, I would get these properties from these wholesalers and I would call these sellers and I go, hey, look, you know, I know that you begin offers a little bit too low. You know, I'm coming at this from a different perspective. I have some cash that I have sitting. I was going to buy a flip, but instead of doing that, I would just love to be able to work with homeowners who are in the market to want to sell, but who might need some extra income or maybe a professional set of eyes to be able to look at renovating the home on behalf of you. And then any appreciation we create through that renovation, when we sell it, we'll cover all the realtor fees and all the closing costs. Whatever's left over could just be a return on my money, and then we can split the equity. Doesn't that sound amazing, guys? Of course. Now, that's one, is identifying dead wholesale leads for free. Facebook Marketplace, go on Instagram. If people don't know that you do real estate, well, damn, you're already failing, which is exactly why step 2 comes down to understanding your offer. When it comes down to novations, you should be a novation expert, which means that you should be partnering up with people locally, getting in front of the kind of education necessary, and repetition, repetition, repetition. Understand what we have, because creative should be collaborative and not confusing. So I was doing that while I was active duty. I was closing deals in my chief warrant officer's office, and I was being able to sharpen those skills that the Marine Corps gave me, all that discipline, that motivation, that repetition, that confidence, and I was able to implement it into real estate. Number 3, it would be to start building out your investor list. Start calling all your boys, your aunt that you haven't spoke to in 4 years, go down that exact contact list, A through Z, and I would call them and say, hey, you know, this is Trevor. I'm looking at getting into real estate. I am looking at focusing on creative finance and getting a good return on investment. I have nothing for you now, but if I did bring something your way, would you be interested in wanting to park your money into an asset so that way we can give you a good return? What does that do? That soft commits a yes. If people are interested and they go, yeah, I have $5K, I have $10K, I have $100,000, you can start compiling that list and realize how much funding you might have. So when the deals start coming in, you can be proactive and not reactive. So that's step 3. Step 4 would be to identify your market. I've done novation deals in 35 states. I've gone nationwide, but because I was in California when I was stationed here, a lot of my success came from California. You want to be able to walk the properties. I always say closing happens at the kitchen table. So in doing so, something that you should do is be proactive on working the weekends or after work, or yes, I understand, fucking Saturdays are for the boys. Shut up. You want to be successful. So make sure that you go, you schedule your appointments, and even on soft commitments, you just say, hey, look, Brenda, I'd love to be able to walk the property, kind of see what we can do so I can get a feel. You can kind of feel me out, I can feel you out, and just know that we're not some big corporation. This is more of a mom and pop show, and I do think there are things around your house that I can help renovate and just put the property in more of a fair market condition value, so that way you don't get undercut when it comes time to putting that property on the market. Build, build, build rapport, because people do business with people. Anything that you read on a script is extremely important, but you have to be able to live by that. When they see you, you got to stop treating sellers as a transaction. They're not just a number. That's a real person who doesn't do real estate the way you're trying to do it. This isn't just a numbers game. This is somebody who probably bought a property. They've had it for 20, 30 years. They're nervous. They're probably in a bad situation, which are the 4 Ds: death, distress, divorce, and debt. And you're helping resolve these situations with a great opportunity. You can't treat them like they're just some number. You're not just pulling a number at a deli and just trying to call it and see if something's going to be able to happen. No, you need to make sure that you lean into the emotional emphasis of residential real estate, which is obviously solving problems first. You should be solution oriented, not seller oriented. That brings me to number 5. Number 5 is crucial. It is follow up, follow up, follow up. If you watch this video 10 out of 10 times, you run this through ChatGPT, you get a whole SOP outline, look at your metrics, you have everything ready to get dialed, you start getting in front of optimism, people like your offer, but you're not following up with them because you expect a yes to jump out in front of you, you're gonna fail in this industry. The funding is in the follow-up. So when it comes down to number 5, you get all these yeses, a lot of them are gonna turn into maybes, they're gonna turn into being ghosted, they're gonna turn into no's, they're gonna turn into blocks. Welcome to entrepreneurship. But funding is in the follow-up, and you can repeat this by being personal, by leaning into the seller and their situation. So when you follow up on that phone call, it's not just about, hey, I just want to make sure this price makes sense, or I'm going to be there, you're going to be there. No. On your first call, you should grab what's called FORM: family, occupation, recreation, motivation. So when it comes down to the follow-up piece, you get to lean in on one of those 4. If it comes down to family and they have a family of 3, the occupation is they're a rocket scientist. The recreation is what do they like to do for fun. Let's just say they'd love to be on their boat, and the motivation for selling is because he's moving to a different state for his job. Pull from one of those, so when you follow up, you can just say, yo, Tony, hey, just following up real quick, it's Trev, wanted to see, real quick, man, hey, I just passed by a lake, and all I could picture was you out there with a couple cold ones and the family of 3, man. You having fun out there? You take out the boat for the weekend? Oh, no, I didn't get time to X, Y, and Z. Oh, man, well, you got to let me know. I've been looking at wanting to get a boat, man, but my wife, I got 2 young ones. Would you recommend getting a boat right now? Lean in on what they love to talk about, because people do business with people. So once you pull from that, after about 10 minutes of laughing, you guys start laughing. well, Tony, hey, just wanted to follow up with you real quick. This Saturday at 10 a.m. still works. I can't wait to go out there and see exactly what you and I can do together. I got a great feeling about this. They will as well. So focus on those 5 things, and if you could do them and do them confidently while you're in the service, you could stack so much cash that you can then translate that into what? Fix and flips, buy and holds, whatever you want when it comes down to that, because you've started with something, you stuck with it, you understood how to do it, you focus on what your offer is, you tracked your metrics, and you focused on making sure that people know that they're doing business with the person. Take that, run with that, and if you want to dive a little bit deeper as a Marine on what I've done to be able to do over 250 deals in 35 states with my money that you want to be able to do these kinds of opportunities, you got to be able to join Marwalk. It's a Marine Wealth Operations Command where I focus on one thing and one thing only: building wealth for Marines. So dive on in here, take a look. I jump live every Monday and Wednesday, and we have plenty of resources in there for you to be able to start doing this today. I'll catch you inside.